Hello, mic check. All right. Hello, everybody. Just waiting for people to file in here. Checking on the trade of the week. Yep. Mute that. So, yeah, happy Thursday, everybody. We're on the normal schedule here. Thursday, Steve. Friday, tomorrow, we'll have Andy. I haven't done a whole lot, and I'm going to tell you guys what happened yesterday is, as more people file in, I wish more people could hear this, but, the market is just grinding higher. It's just slowly grinding higher. And all week I was noticing the indexes would move higher, but the stocks I was in were probably still pretty overbought, and they just kept grinding down, and it was just a lot of nothing. And for whatever reason, I decided that yesterday it's been a really, really good run in my swing trading account. I've had a phenomenal run since the April lows. I went to all cash last night. I kept mine med, excuse me. I went to kept mine med. So I'm just doing a little bit of day trading here. I'm not wanting to go home this weekend with a risk on. I literally have had full on risk on 100% balls to the wall for the last 6 weeks. And it's not always an easy time to sleep when you do that. And so last night I slept really well, didn't get up once and checked overnight markets, and just kind of felt comfy in cash where I can press change and rearrange here. Maybe some of the same names, maybe buy them back, maybe buy them back cheaper. I don't know. I am doing a couple things here midday. I bought some Hertz. Why did I buy Hertz? Well, I told Andy before we came in today that I'm not chasing anything. I'm going to look for drive downs of stop loss selling market stops in the first maybe half an hour of the day in the stocks that I like that seem strong. And I'm not buying any green. I'm going to be buying red down on opening drive downs because that seems to work in this market. Hertz being one of them. So I'm long some Hertz. And the reason I liked it, I teased you. Look at that. We had some big news with Ackman. I made a ton of money on a day and a half. This was my best trade of the year. I pretty much left it alone. But now I can't really leave it alone because this rising 50 has really got my attention here after a nice sell-off, a week and a half of sell-off. We switched to the intraday. All systems kind of go here on the 10 SMA. So I re-entered a couple things, but I have no problem selling them. I've got stops in them as well. If they don't work, I probably am going to adjust my stop in Hertz. Right now it's about 604. I might bring it up a little bit, maybe later. You still in Hertz, Patrick? Nice. How about that silver overnight? I own silver, and I'm not even going to bother trying to trade it. I'm just going to enjoy in the back of my mind that, the physical silver I own is doing just fine. It's been so hard to trade the mining stocks. The nano stocks, they've been really, really tough too. This was a day right here I did not see coming. I was long coming in here and I just had to sell down here. I couldn't take it anymore. It gapped a lot of these nano nuke stocks up, and it just seems like they're still kind of struggling. So I don't have any nano nukes at the moment. The other stock that I bought on a drive down was the stock that I was heavily long in and couldn't go anywhere. This is another one of my frustrations. This BBI, I just can't get out of its own way. I watched it rip higher yesterday, and just kind of laughed. And then on the open today, I watched it blast down here, and I bought the I've got a 397 average here in BBAI. Still a giant short float, and I know there's some news in there, but this is an interesting chart. It just can't really get out of its own way, though. But I thought I'd take a stab at that. But other than that, I mentioned UAVS2, I think. This is my day trade for the day. I watched it back here. It came alive. I don't know what's going on. Yeah, I can only assume maybe the word drone is showing up in the news headlines again. But for whatever reason, you can't ignore this volume spike. It settled back down. Looks like there's a solid floor here. And I watched it trade up. And when it came back here, I saw it getting ready to break above 120. And I said, I'll take a chance. And so I'm sitting in this UAVS, probably a day trade. This is a very thin stock. And when I've traded this stock before, you've got to be ahead of the curve. So I've already got an offer out at 35 and an offer at 49. So I'm just trying to stay ahead of the game. If we can get up here, I'll get a sale off. And then if we can go and challenge these prior highs, I'll get another sale off. But big shift in my perspective the last few weeks for those that are coming in and hearing me every week. I was in full hedge fund mode. I no longer am in full hedge fund mode. I was really kind of hoping that the market, meaning the SPYs and Qs, could come out of this, and they still might. I mean, they're grinding higher. You see this blue line I drew. This was my ultimate target for my hedge fund portfolio that I wanted to just start selling into, but I sold prematurely. I don't like the action that's been lately, and I don't want to go into this weekend for whatever reason, but I took a nice move in a lot of names, and so it's been a wonderful push. And let me just also say, when you're trading and you've had an incredible run, what happens is you start to get complacent. I'll buy this, I'll buy that. Hey, that's okay. That's extended. I'll buy that. Because you had so much success and everything works for you, you kind of forgot how painful it can be when you're wrong. And in my experience, Brian and Andy and I, we all laugh about this, but when you've done really, really well and you're at all-time highs and you really can't do anything wrong, you best put your head on a swivel and be ready for a humbling experience at any moment, because when you get complacent, it's so easy to just give back and not recognize what's happening and then just ride losers back down. So I really wanted to book those profits that I had in hedge fund mode. And so I'm back into Steve's swing trading mode and some day trading for now. So there you go. There's my update. Kind of a light crowd today here. I know I'm not Dan Merkin on Wednesdays talking about the money machine. He gets a good crowd in there. But I'm always happy to talk about what you guys want to talk about. Charts, trading, scans. I'm all yours for the next 50 minutes. And I really don't have an urge to go do a lot right now, quite honestly. Feels good to kind of have risk off when risk on has been for 6 weeks straight. You'll notice, guys, I've adapted my layout a little bit. I got rid of that pull back to the 5-day moving average, which is a great scam, but I don't use it as much as I'm using something like this. We started using this last week in my broadcast, and I've made it a part of my integral layout here. It just kind of gives me a quick glance. Again, this is new highs versus new lows. And as long as I don't close my layout and I keep this thing running, it'll keep moving through the data and showing me the current data, how it looks. We've had a really good run in the Qs. It's probably time for a midday pullback, which is another thing I noticed. The stocks my stocks in the last couple of days this week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, it was very frustrating. Market would go up, my stocks wouldn't do anything. Market down ticks a little bit like we're seeing right here, and boy, do my stocks lose their bid pretty quick. And that's just a dynamic that gets real old real quick. And so that was one of the reasons I decided to just take the profits, go to cash, and reassess. Trade of the week, MindMed sold off and found support. And this is healthy. This is so healthy to be able to do this and find the buyers at the rising five. So that gives me confidence that MindMed still might have a decent day. Wow. So this is one of the names I sold yesterday, and that's what happens sometimes. But if you recall, I was also in Tesla. Tesla is having a hard time. I sold this yesterday as well. Sold it right. I sold it on the open actually. Sold it around here yesterday. I didn't like this right here. So that was a rejection number one, big 5-day moving average rejection. Rejection number two was the intraday 10 SMA. And as soon as it took out lows, I said, see you later. And so, I can look back in hindsight and wonder which ones I would have kept and not kept. But it all works out in the end. The order entry on the new beta, well, I made a video for it. But it's essentially you can use this thing right here and you can create a market order or a limit order and buy and sell. And it essentially will populate directly into your brokerage plus. So I could look at this Tesla right here and say, you know what, I'm going to go ahead. I'm connected. Change that to market order, submit. Now, how did I know to buy 31 shares? Here's the key right here. These three dots are your friend. These three dots open up a menu that configures dollars to shares for each simulated buy. You can display, enable what you do and don't want to do. I'm not going to go through all those, but they're all self-explanatory. So that's the real takeaway. Is these three dots up here give you a lot of control. If you don't like using this thing right here, and by the way, if I click this X, watch what happens. It closes the trade. It should close the trade. Select X to close the trade. Let's see if it's still open. Also on your chart properties, you've got to make sure to show all orders so you can see where the stop is and things like that. Let me see if I can click out of that X and close this trade. There we go. Trade was closed. Jay, I'm neutral right now. I'm a little concerned because if you came late, I don't like the action that the market has given us Monday through Wednesday. The indexes just keep going higher, but a lot of stocks don't. It's really, really weird. And you see this blue line. This was my ultimate target to where I was going to basically sell everything. But I decided to front run that idea and I sold everything pretty much yesterday. And I'm just kind of nibbling around some things today, which aren't really doing much. I'm not bullish. I feel like there's a shoe to drop, even though the chart doesn't suggest that. The chart is extremely bullish, but we are running into just a buzz saw of selling up here of resistance. So I'm going to try and get ahead of that and not be complacent. And like I said, I took stuff off yesterday, most of it, all of it, except for the MindMed, which is the trade of the week. We looked at the Qs. SPY, same situation, not as close to that prior high. But again, you're going to see a buzzsaw of selling up here around these levels. And so between here and there, we could just drift higher. But I don't know. I just got a feeling. And again, I've had a great run. So I try to not get complacent. And the only way to do that is to kind of just take everything off and then rearrange, take a break. Is this the most hated rally of all time? You could probably call it that. The tariff headlines were no fun to trade through back here, but ultimately it picked a direction. I didn't look at the semis yet. They look just like the NASDAQ, but look what they did today. They just suckered everybody in long, and we're just a grind higher is a very difficult environment to trade in. You just got to be in the right stuff. And like I said earlier, once you get a couple downticks in the NASDAQ and spiders, all of the stuff year long seems to just lose its bid. So I don't like that action. I don't like it at all. So I'm basically going from risk on to risk off with quick day trades and maybe short swing trades, but I've got a lot of stops in midday. I've got a stop in Hertz. Not going to let that break down much below here. I'm going to adjust that actually. I'm going to bring that up. Let me do that right now. Hertz. We're going to bring the stop up to 8 cents. All right, hello, Girl Trader, what's up? Hi, the web version work well on my Mac, or do I really need to run it from the Windows? I'm a swing trader. The web version, let me just explain, is sadly it's in limbo. It's a version that was kind of mirroring the TA Pro version and sending all the data to like a website interface. Now, still a few things to be left, a couple of features we can't use like sound or external linking, or there's no Brokerage Plus connection. So in that respect, if you can find a way to run TI Pro on your Mac using what's called a virtual desktop, Amazon Web Services has them, Microsoft 365 has them, Boot Camp, Parallels, those are some older ones, but if you want to do some research and try and run a Windows program on your Mac, that's going to be your best bet, because the Windows web version, I should say, is a legacy version at this point. We're considering it. We're not even really advertising it. People are welcome to use it. We'll do our best to support it. But if there's anything in there that's broken, there's not much of a priority to fix those right now. So I really do recommend, if you can find a way to run, some of the people that work here use Macs and they run a virtual desktop. So how do you bring the stop up? Okay. So when I was talking a moment ago, Prompt Todd, I was talking about my personal live account. But if we're talking about buying right here, just buy this at market, submit we'll call this a paper trade. Okay, you see what happened here. The price moves over so that we now have these guys right here. See, when I hover there, I can say, hey, show me what the suggested stop is. And show me what the suggested target is. So these are the defaults. But right off the bat, you just grab the red part of the number and you can adjust that down. Grab the green part of the number, you can adjust that up. But if you click that X, you're gonna either sell from there. What does this do? This cancels. So this X will cancel that stop. This X will cancel that target. This X will close the trade. Now you can also use a trade ticket here if you want to use this type of interface. You can do that as well. But those were the basic changes. You're welcome, Grill Trader. I'm also a swing trader, so I'm here on Thursdays. If you get up and going and you start getting in a groove, come by and let me try and help you. So I don't like all this on my chart, so I'm just going to close this simulated trade and we'll bring it back. So what I'm looking at now is I raised my stop to 609, very tight. I've got very little discipline, very little tolerance for any bull crap in this market right now. So I think I'm at 60. Where am I? I'm at 608 stop. So I'm just not giving this stuff a lot of wiggle room today. Weekend's coming up. Silver giving back a lot of its overnight move. So did that hopefully help your question, Prompt Todd? What you want to also make sure is in your charts that you've got properties and show orders selected, which I should probably save because I never save that. All right. Big pullback in the NASDAQ, but it was quickly bought back up. So we're still the anatomy of a slow grind higher until we're no longer in that. But it doesn't make for easy market action to try and really figure out what's going on. Now this is starting to bother me. That's too bad. I didn't want to see this thing pull back. But I'll give it some time. A lot of people have been talking about copper too. Look at FCX breaking out, PGB, some of these copper miners. Apparently that's becoming a thing. There we go, Hertz. You hang on there. So if Hertz can pop above 620 here, I think it might have a date with this 635 level. It would be like the fourth attempt to do so. There's a lot of shorts in this name too, 44% at last count. That's one of the reasons I keep coming back to this name. Oh, and I just spilled Coke all over my. Yeah. All right, that's always fun. Spilling a Diet Coke on your keyboard all over your desk. That's why my charts are insane. I'm cleaning my keyboard. All right, where were we? Okay, hello, Vito. Can you place bracketed orders with brokerage plus stop on the downside? Yes. Well, that's exactly what is happening. It's exactly what you're seeing. When you do that, that wasn't, I didn't get, let's see if I can get it filled here. There we go. Okay, so we have an open order. Click this red dot right there. Click that green dot right there. Give it a quick second. There is your stop. There is your target. That's exactly what it's intended to do. It does it for you automatically. There's nothing you need to do. Oh my God, Nevis. Ooh, Hertz, there we go. It broke above 22. I'm going to go back to that NNE and close it out. See, here's another way I can do it too. If you don't want to do it on there, I can just go highlight that and click flatten. And that should do it. Boom, gone. Backtesting is going to be backtesting. It's not going to have anything to do with visual trading on the beta. You're backtesting a strategy that works. And so if you see a scan that comes out and says Hertz and you buy Hertz and you've got your stop and your target, well, then you can raise your stop and raise your target. You can do whatever you want from there. Backtesting, it's not going to tell you what to do necessarily. You can, but I don't do much backtesting. I get lost in the weeds with all that information. It becomes information overload. Oops, hang on a second. So an attempt to pull back is just gobbled up by buyers. Still just grinding higher until somebody rings a bell and says it's not time to buy anymore. But I'm only 30% invested here today, just doing some simple stuff and probably not going to take a lot of risk home. Yes, Nebius got an upgrade overnight. I wish I had not sold it, but I could have said the same thing for Tesla. I did sell Tesla way up here, about 340. So I look at Nibis and I get upset, but then I remind myself, well, you also sold Tesla, Steve. You also sold Regatti and some other ones that got hammered today. So all in all, me selling my portfolio was a good thing yesterday. Can't overthink it in what I'm trying to say. Will Brokerage Plus be expanded to Thinkorswim? Well, I use Thinkorswim through Schwab. I'm using their web portal. I really like it. There are no current plans. I would say this, the next broker that's probably in line to do a deal and set up is going to be TradeStation. Yes, Vito, you can bracket orders. That's exactly what we just looked at. I don't know how else to explain it. All orders go out with a buy. There's your sell. In the red dot, the green dot is your sell. So you've got two orders. This is a bracket order. I don't know how else to explain it unless I'm missing something. What stock was that? So I can go back and cancel it. Regatti. Okay, I'm just going to close it right there. Good question, Vito. If you're using more than one account, this is the first account. You would have a second account right there and even a third account right there. So you'd know which account is which. I don't recommend that. It gets a little complicated, but okay, got rid of that order. So what I'm seeing here right now in the moment, you see the new highs are kind of perking up as the new lows aren't quite so much. So I don't even need to look at the Qs. You just kind of feel that there's probably a bit of a bid under for the most part at the moment here. But I've started using this a little bit more just to kind of keep up with the market pulse. And if anybody wants this, it's very easy to share. I can copy that. There's nothing left that you need to do except just open it and let it run. And again, it's just comparing new highs versus new lows to kind of show you the pulse of the market. You're welcome, Doug. Who knows what next year could bring in terms of new partnerships? The small caps haven't even broken out yet. Russell 2000 is just sitting there looking for a reason. Yeah, these nano nukes are just having a hard time finding footing. I think it's because they got ahead of themselves too quick. I mean, Oklo ran from 20 to 60. You know, it's really hard to see something like that and expect that you can buy this pullback here and have it rip up to 80. Sometimes when they run 200% like that, it takes a while to work it off. Yeah, Jay, when I say I'm cautious up here, it's because the price action that I'm seeing is just odd. And it just feels like, like when a plane buffets in thin air before it actually stalls and loses its lift. I kind of feel like that's where we are, even though the price action looks great. We're above all our moving averages. But as we all know, once a headline hits or once something gets focused on negatively, the elevator down can wipe out, 15 days of escalator up. So I just don't want to be a part of that. I've been that part before where you wake up and you're just a deer in the headlights and you're like, well, do I bail or do I just wait to see what happens? And it's hard. So I just kind of made my bed ahead of time. And if things start to work individually, I might, keep an eye on them. But I mean, I was full on hedge fund, 100% invested every day. I had every single dollar invested that I could get in there. And I don't know if that's really the way to go now going forward because it worked for me for 6 weeks and nothing works forever. So that I've learned. Nothing works forever. Things will always change. Well, we can look and see. I mean, it has been kind of on lower than average volume. Actually, no, it's been pretty decent volume. If we look at it like back here, then we had our sell-off, and then we had our panic, and then we've kind of been up here. So relatively speaking, the volume's not bad, but I kind of expect the volume to dry out up here. I mean, this is a huge run, 400 to 540. A healthy pullback would be maybe to the 200 day, right? So we kind of get that, maybe we're just building like, an early cup and handle. What I definitely didn't think ever was going to happen ever from day one was that we would hit this line and just shoot straight through. That's just probably not going to happen. These people here are going to have something to say about that. And that's when you usually get those corrections. I'll pay attention to volume. Yeah, I will. Low volume, super low volume moves higher. If I look at a stock and it's moving higher in the relative volume in an individual stock's like 0.3, I'm like, whoa, just stay away from that. I like to look at relative volume in individual names for sure. Can I run what in a cloud? And what do you mean by run in a cloud? We have cloud links that we share, but I don't know what you mean by run in a cloud. Or if you mean like a desktop for Mac users, that's what I was talking about earlier. Well. And actually, my little, see this big downtick in the green here? We're getting a little downtick in the NASDAQ. So that little spike that we bid up is not really holding at the moment. We might come back down and have a date with 530, which would be just par for the course for this type of market. Can't get too far ahead of itself and it pulls back, but can't get too low before it just kind of pops back up. It's not always the greatest. Vito, I don't know if you're listening, but I've answered that question twice already on the bracket orders. I can't answer it again. The only thing holding up for me is at least the trade of the week. Mind Med, thank God. Vito, I've answered that question 2 times. Yes, you can. It does it for you automatically. Then you can adjust them. Come on now. Pay attention. Starting to see some red creeping up there, so probably going to lose some bids. Oh, that's not what I wanted to see, BBAI. Being very, look at this. See, this is kind of what I'm talking about. This is really hard trading, back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. So that's why I'm just not too eager to jump into a bunch of things today. Okay, probably getting, I was in that. Probably don't mind getting stopped out of that. Hertz is also holding up, but it's just pulling teeth to get things to go higher in a decent clip. happy to look at any charts out there. If somebody's kind of stressing over a chart, like you don't know what to do, I can always give you the right. Well, I can give you not the right, but I can give you what I see. But what I'm seeing here in the moment is some accelerated new lows here in my little compare count market pulse. Tesla's having a hard time. But you know what? I'm interested in Tesla down here around the 200-day. God, it almost hit it too. I'm gonna put an alert right there on the 200-day, and if Tesla hits that, I might consider starting to dip my foot in, maybe take a third, watch it, maybe another third if it goes well. But that's the way in which you're going to stay ahead of the curve in your profits in swing trading. If you're always chasing new highs and being the person that's buying this up here, I'd rather wait for something to pull back where it makes sense on a daily chart. And the reason I like that 200 is it got stopped there and there and there and there, and then it broke through. Anyway, that's how I like to use price alerts, to alert me that there is something that's happening that a previous version of me wanted to see. Whether it's taken or not is up to me in real time. If I pull it up and it sees like it's everything's crashing, I'm not going to jump into that. How about KOD? Seems like it may be coiling. Yep, KOD. Yep, there's that 0.4 volume I was just talking about. It's kind of the tale of two tapes here, David. And the problem is the bigger one, the daily, it's under all moving averages. So it very well could easily just get, thwarted by this declining 10 and do that. And that's not what you want. However, intraday, it's trying. And I think that's what you're speaking to. The last couple of days here, it's reclaimed the 5-day. And if this 5-day moving average can start to flatten out and it holds that without closing below it, then there's no reason to get out. But it's definitely under pressure. It's under the thumb of the sellers on the daily chart. Wait, did I pull up the right one? No, I didn't. KOD. Gosh, I'm so sorry. Well, at least we got a nice breakdown of Kodak. Jeez. Okay, totally different story here, David. And that's why I'm not in Kodak, by the way. I was last week, but I want nothing to do with it now. So let's get to your question. KOD. Yeah, it's looking pretty good. It's above all its moving averages. On the bigger picture daily, the 50-day moving average was solid bedrock support. A little bit of a reversal yesterday. Oh, no, I'm sorry. There's that. I got to open my chart. There we go. Big push yesterday. I like the drive down on the open. I mentioned earlier, I'm only interested in things that drive down on the open close to the 5 days. So you found great support there. This is not a bad looking chart. If it wants to keep moving higher, just be aware that your sellers are probably going to show up there in the 200-day moving average. Oof, Quamco. That was one of those names that got excited during the quant move, and it's showing its true colors there. That's funny that I typed Kodak, KOD, and I can't help but type Kodak. Okay, BBAI, this is just the kind of frustration that's just been present all week. All week. Things just can't get out of their own way. And it's really frustrating. So keep an eye on that. I don't like that. I don't like what that's doing. God dang it. Okay. Take my eyes off all this stuff. UAVS trying to hang in there. Benefit of the doubt, but that's it. That's all that, and Hertz. That's all the risk I have on. Even Hertz is starting to. My stop is right there, so I'll go ahead and put a price alert in on my stop. Hello, Girl Trade. Is TA able to connect to Schwab? No, I'm trading through Schwab myself, and I'm not connected to it for trading. You can do what's called an external linking, where if I click, TSLS here, it would change in my Schwab account and it would pull it up. But it's kind of wonky sometimes, and you have to reset it every day. I don't even use the external linking. I just keep my web version open and do everything manually. But there's no plans as of yet to link to Thinkorswim. As I mentioned earlier, the next broker in line likely is going to be TradeStation. So I'm here for another 10 minutes or so, and then I got to go to a developers meeting. Hey, Patrick Beat was coming alive the other day. Oh, gosh, you know what? I might want to buy some of that. I noticed that volume was coming into it. Like it's doing double volume today. All right. Do I jump in pre-market on upgrades? If it's something I'm watching and it's an upgrade and I feel like I'm early, the chances are you're not going to be early. The computers are going to be a lot faster than you. And in pre-market, you're not going to have a lot of liquidity. So that's not something I do, but, that doesn't mean it can't be done. Oh, yeah. Yeah, there we go. There's the true colors coming in the market here. There's all the true colors. There's Tesla. See, what I just said a minute ago. If Tesla hits this level, I'm going to look around and see what's going on. I don't know if I want it right now with the NASDAQ and everything coming back like this pretty hard. Anything with hotkeys? No, we don't use hotkeys. The closest we're going to have to hotkeys is going to be on the brokerage plus this right here. Flatten, half, double, reverse. There's no keystrokes. Gosh darn it, what's going on here? We're getting some stupid headlines? Probably. This is another reason, guys, I'm not interested in being fully invested in this market. It's just been too hard. And the stuff that I'm in is kind of getting pounded now. Doesn't make me very happy, especially that BBAI reversal. You son of a bitch. Okay. Thought I was safe buying this drive down here. Now it went negative on me. Yeah, I am glad I am not full risk on in this market right now. Okay, so there's Hertz. Hertz doesn't want to play ball. I'm just going to leave my 608 stop in there. And I do that sometimes because if I look at this and I go, oh boy, it's probably going to hit that stop, I might as well just mark it out and save myself 4 cents. Well, I turn around an hour later and it never hit my stop. And I think, well, that's why I like to use stops, because it kind of takes the emotion out of it. I like this little wick right here in the intraday. I'm still going to give UAVS something to build off of that big spike they had last week. And again, I don't have very much of this at all. It's very, very small stock. Boy, I'm seeing a lot of red coming through, and that's why I like this. This thing right here is just telling the story. Look at that. All of a sudden, we just lost buyers' interest in this market. And MindMeds, my only winner, is coming back on me now. Yeah. Well, I don't like to panic out of swing positions midday. And Girl Trader, I'm kind of talking to you if you want to be a swing trader. When I panic out of a position midday, I often regret it by the end of the day, especially since we're sitting here midday. Markets have to breathe. You have the opening push, then you have a lot of slop midday, and then true colors start to show up end of day. So more often than not, I've gotten upset midday, get emotional, and you just pound out of something because you don't like the moment, only to see that it's moved higher by the end of the day. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not going to just sit through all pullbacks. I do have stops in place, and I've already been stopped out of something. And I might get stopped out of Hertz here if I'm not careful. But the point is, I could look at that and go, screw it, I'm just going to sell it. But when I do that, it seems like I regret it. So just a little anecdotal swing trading. Yeah, a lot of things are dumping right now. I wonder if that Tesla would have been a good buy. Not that I want it. Nope, it's trading below still. Although it is hitting that 200. But see, this is the moment where I would consider it. I'm going to nibble. I'm going to nibble a tiny bit just because I can. And I feel like if I'm wrong, I can't get mad at myself for that. It's a pretty good entry. So I just bought a 1/3 position Tesla. Why did I buy it right there? It's at the 200-day. And it's a 1/3 size. If it goes much lower, it's not going to bother me. But here's a perfect example, guys, of just using a price alert to give yourself a setup ahead of time, brings it to your attention, and you can decide if you want to do anything. And in my case, I decided I'll do a little bit. I'll just nibble. I sold up here at 343. Buying it back in a very small nibble at 304, I have no problem doing that. What I have a problem with is what this damn BBAI did to me and what it's been doing all week long. It's probably one of the most wild stocks I've ever seen. Red, green, red, green, red, green, red, green. Okay, sure. So now this has become a real thorn in my side. Here's what I'm probably going to do, guys. A lot of times these sellers will dance on the first opening low. In this case, it's 385. What they're doing is what Andy and I call the double dip, because it makes sense. If you're a predatory algorithm, you know that probably everybody that bought, like me, you don't want to lose this level, 385. So the price action has a funny way of coming back and reversing just to double check and test and see the resolve of these people. But what it can do for me is if it does hold and kind of bounce back up into the fray here, well, it gives me my perfect stop on the day, which would be right about there. So I'm going to give this a little bit more time. I got to leave you guys here in a minute. But if BBAI goes ahead and makes this a temporary low for the moment and starts to bounce back up, I will put a stop under the double dip. And I can't tell you earlier in my career how many times I got stopped out of the first low, and only to realize that Andy and I started to notice that these predatory algorithms have a funny way of going back and testing the resolve of the people that bought the first dip. So it's kind of like that old saying, the second mouse gets the cheese. But if it won't hold, and it looks like it might try, I'll put a stop down here, probably at 381, if we can get this to settle in and bounce a little bit back up. So I'm just kind of showing you guys how very little risk I'm taking right now. I'm not letting things move around on me, because what I fear at any time could happen just kind of happened. A big red candle just erases everything. Yes, Vito, you can if you have a Windows machine, there's no reason to run this in a virtual cloud. We tell people who have a Mac to run it on a virtual cloud, because that way they don't need to download. They can run a virtual Windows desktop. We have people doing that all the time. All right, guys, it's 5 till. I just noticed I gotta run. You got it. All right, hey, Vito, we'll end on that one. A good laugh out loud. Okay, I've got to run, and Andy will be with you guys tomorrow. So thanks for all the questions, and keep it tight out there. Both Andy and I are in zero tolerance day trade, low risk mode. Don't like what we're seeing, so just kind of take that with what you need. Take it easy. Bye bye.